Hi, my name is Dee Cantrell, and today I'm going to talk to you about the breakdown and absorption of lipids by the human body. Again, it's Dee Cantrell here. So today I'm going to explain the process of fat absorption in the human digestive system. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few quick facts about fats and why they are important to the human body. In plasma, research have identified over 600 varieties of lipids that are relevant to proper functioning in the human body. We require fats for many different functions and cannot manufacture them from scratch, so we require components of dietary fat. Fats in the human body store energy, provide insulation, and protection for our vital organs. They act as components of hormone messengers and participate in growth, proper immune function, and even reproduction. Sorry about that. Fats help to store lipid-soluble vitamins such as A, D, E, and K in the different adipose tissues and in the liver. Cholesterols are important in steroid hormones. Phospholipids are important and essential components of cell membranes, and they allow cells to send and receive signals and communicate with other cells. Triglycerides are especially important in energy storage. They contain twice as much energy as carbohydrates and proteins. Some fatty acids, such as omega-3s, may have anti-inflammatory properties that help prevent disease. Of course, excess consumption of dietary fat can lead to many different pathologies, including diabetes, obesity, heart attack, and stroke. In the Western diet, 90% of dietary fats are consumed as triglycerides. They are too large to be absorbed into the bloodstream on their own, and in order to be used by the body, they must be broken down. So let's look at how these fats are digested and absorbed, as well as different other types of dietary fats. I just want to quickly run through a quick overview of human digestion in order to gain a full understanding of how lipid digestion is important. Digestion, of course, begins in the mouth, in the oral cavity, where food is masticated and lubricated with the addition of saliva. Saliva contains water, mucus, and enzymes which soften and lubricate the food. Fat digestion sort of begins in the mouth with an enzyme called lingual lipase, but not a lot of fat digestion occurs here for two reasons, mainly because there's no emulsification that occurs, and you'll understand the importance of that in a bit. And the other reason is because of that, it only really functions in the oral cavity to break down like short chain fatty acids. So, and really the main focus, because most dietary fats are going to be triglycerides, we're going to spend most of our time focusing on that today. But again, the lipase is that enzyme found in the mouth. That would be the lingual lipase. This is also found in the fundus of the stomach, where some digestion of fats can take place. Because it's in the fundus, it's not as highly acidic, and so it is able to function there out of reach of the strongly acidic portion of the stomach. So again, after the food is chewed and swallowed, it flows down the esophagus into the fundus of the stomach. As the food bolus moves down, it ends up in the stomach itself, where it is exposed to hydrochloric acid with a very low pH and digestive enzymes. Minimal fat digestion, as I said, takes place here as gastric lipases are inactivated by acidic environments, and no emulsification takes place here as well. So neither in the mouth nor the stomach is there any emulsification. The bolus becomes an aqueous acidic solution, and it's now called chyme in the stomach. Next, the chyme will enter the duodenum, which is the upper part of the small intestine. This area is neutral to alkaline in environment, and this is the place where most digestions of fats as well as absorption will take place, specifically in the duodenum. So the duodenum receives bile salts and pancreatic lipases and cholipases that will continue the lipid digestion. After the digestion and absorption of lipids and other components of chyme, and it's now at this point called chyle, it will flow through the small intestine and into the colon. As it moves through the large intestine or colon, more nutrients will be absorbed, as well as water. And eventually the unused components of food will be excreted as feces through the anus. This next slide is just an overview slide of the organs that are important in lipid breakdown and absorption. And you can see here that the small intestine is an important site for both digestion and absorption of lipids, as I mentioned earlier. The liver and gallbladder both serve important roles. The liver produces bile, which is stored in the gallbladder. The gallbladder then contracts when a fatty meal is consumed and will secrete the bile containing salts through the common bile duct and into the duodenum for emulsification. The pancreas is important for secretion of lipase and colipase, which are enzymes important for digestion of triglyceride molecules. And we'll go into that mechanism very specifically in a few minutes. The lymphatic system and its lacteals will serve as the place of absorption and transport for the digested lipids. So next, we're going to go in specifically how fats are broken down and absorbed. So let's start with fat emulsification. Fat emulsification is how triglycerides are broken down at the molecular level so that they can be absorbed in the small intestine. A major problem for lipid absorption is its molecular characteristic of hydrophobia. Human circulation is aqueous in nature and requires substances to be able to be dissolved in water in order to be absorbed easily. Lipids are not hydrophilic, and this problem must be overcome in order for them to be absorbed and useful to the body. So that's why it's necessary for fats to be emulsified. So the body has an amazing methodology for dealing with this. It uses a product that we previously mentioned called bile. Bile salts, phospholipids, bilirubin pigment, and cholesterol, as well as other components, even some metals, make up bile. Bile salts are amphipathic. That means that they both have lipophilic and lipophobic parts to their molecule. Because of this characteristic, they can act sort of as a detergent, breaking up large globules of fat in the aqueous chyme into smaller droplets. And this is a really important thing because, well, it's called emulsification, and it increases the surface area of the fat globules so they can be more readily accessible by enzymes that will break them down. This emulsification process is a physical process only. The triglycerides are still molecularly intact. No chemical bonds have been broken at this point. It just basically results in an increased surface area and a smaller size droplet. And that, of course, as I said, enables greater exposure to enzymes. And you can see here we have the liver and the gallbladder, which is very close by. Here's the common bile duct, and this is where the bile flows into the duodenum, which is here. And here's the pancreas. That's where most of our enzymes that break down fats will be secreted from. Okay. So now we're going to talk about enzymatic triglyceride digestion. This is an enzymatic chemical breakdown. So remember, previously it was only a physical breakdown. We're just taking large globules and making them smaller through a detergent-like activity of the bile salts. At this point, this is where the enzymes lipase and colipase become very important. Both of these enzymes function well in the neutral to slightly alkaline environment of the small intestine. And remember, I said earlier that it's the chyme has now become something that's more alkaline, so we're calling it chyle. Lipase is secreted by the pancreas in its active form, and it breaks down triglycerides molecularly into smaller, more easily absorbable forms by hydrolyzing the ester bonds holding fatty acids to glycerol. And it does this one by one in steps. Often the hydrophobic characteristics of the triglyceride droplet, coupled with the fact that it's now kind of encased in bile salts that were used to emulsify it, that can actually block the activity of lipase. And for this reason, that's why we have the enzyme colipase. Colipase will break into this barrier of bile salts and enable the lipase to actually have better accessibility to the interior of the molecule where it can begin its hydrolyzation reactions. Eventually, this hydrolysis by lipase will break down the triglyceride, which you can see here in its structure, into a monoglyceride and two fatty acids, and it works by breaking those ester bonds. And so you'll end up with one monoglyceride, and then these will become basically or one monoglyceride, sorry. And then this will basically become two free fatty acids chains. And these are much more easy for the cells to absorb than this huge fatty acid molecule, or this huge triglyceride molecule. So again, we usually end up with one monoglyceride and two fatty acids. You could end up with one glycerin molecule and three free fatty acids. That happens as well. As a part of that, these smaller molecules basically can now become what's called micelles. And I have a little graphic to explain that here. Because they're associated with bile salts, the micelles orient hydrophilic heads outward and hydrophobic lipophilic heads internally so that the small spheres are easily soluble in aqueous environment. It sort of like coats and encloses it so it's more easily accessible in the aqueous environment. These are then freely transported to the brush border of the enterocytes in the intestinal villi. And this is a little graphic that shows that as well. This is the brush border. These are the enterocytes. And this is all part of that, of the intestinal villi. So where fatty acids will be absorbed. Okay, next, lipid absorption of the fatty acids occurs. The fatty acids and glycerol are released from the micelles. Right here you can see this. At the apical membrane where they can freely diffuse into the cell because they are lipophilic. And that's where this occurs. So again, they're released from the micelles. They diffuse easily into the cell. Whereas the cholesterol molecules must be transported into the cell through active transport. Once inside the enterocytes, the triglycerides are reformed from their component parts, right here, and in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and then they are packaged in the Golgi apparatus into something called cyclomicrons. And these cyclomicrons are amphipathic, large lipid transport molecules, but they're too large to pass through the plasma membrane, and so they must be transported out through exocytosis. Once they're passed out through exocytosis, they go into the interstitial fluid, but they're too large to pass into the capillary fenestrations. And so for this reason, they must be taken up they're able to be taken up into the lacteal vessels of the lymph system. And these lacteals transport the cyclomicrons through their circulation into the venous blood supply, where they're dumped at the vena cava just outside of the right heart. Next, the blood carrying these lipids enters the right heart, and from there the lipids are transported to the rest of the body for their many essential uses. Here are the sources that I used to prepare for this presentation, I hope that this was a clear and simple explanation of how fats are digested and absorbed in the human digestive system. Thank you.